They say the flood was God's punishment for human corruption. But what if I told you there was another war before the rain ever fell? A war so violent, so heartbreaking, that heaven itself wept in silence. Imagine this. The ark stands half-built, surrounded by roaring thunder and dark clouds that have never before touched the earth. In the distance, massive silhouettes begin to move. The Nephilim, the giants, born of angels and humans, powerful, angry, desperate, and they have sworn one thing: the ark will never float. But as they march, something descends from the heavens, a being radiant, solemn, and burning with sorrow. An angel who will fight not to destroy, but to protect. To hold back the tide of giants long enough for Noah to finish what God began. His story was erased from Scripture, but today, you'll hear it. Because this isn't just the story of Noah. It's the story of the angel who stood between God's promise and the fury of his fallen children. It's a story of loyalty, of pain, and of the price of mercy. So, let me ask you, what happens when heaven sends one of its own to fight the children of angels? And when the rain finally falls, who does that angel weep for? Before we dive deep into this untold battle, make sure you like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming stories. Before the world drowned in water, it drowned in violence. The sky still shone blue, the sun still burned gold, but peace was gone. The world that God had called good had become something else entirely. Men no longer tilled the ground with gratitude. They took what they wanted, and the giants, the Nephilim, ruled over them like kings born from thunder. They were not born of earth alone. They were the children of angels, beings once radiant in heaven, who had descended out of desire, not duty. They were called the Watchers, and when they fell in love with the daughters of men, they thought it was harmless. But what was born from that union was power no human heart could bear. The Nephilim grew to monstrous size, 10, 12, even 15 feet tall. Their bones were like carved stone. Their voices echoed across valleys. At first, mankind admired them. They were beautiful, wise, powerful, saviors in the eyes of the weak. But soon admiration turned into slavery. The giants demanded worship. They built altars to themselves and carved their names into mountains. And where they walked, blood followed. The book of Enoch says they consumed the labors of all men until men could no longer sustain them. When the earth cried out, the Nephilim turned to eat flesh, devouring the beasts, then the birds, then the very people who once praised them. Their hunger knew no end, their power no restraint, and heaven watched in silence. For centuries, the angels who had not fallen grieved for what their brothers had done. They remembered the day the Watchers descended in fire and shadow, breaking the boundary between heaven and earth. They remembered how God's voice echoed through the stars. They have corrupted my creation. And yet, even now, God waited, because mercy always comes before wrath. But mercy has its limit. When Noah was born, the world was already half dead. The rivers ran red with blood. The air smelled of ash. Noah, the last righteous man, found favor in God's eyes and was told to build something no one had ever seen before, an ark. And so he built. For 100 years, plank by plank, hammer by hammer, Noah built his obedience. Every strike of the hammer was a sermon, every piece of wood, a warning, but the world only laughed, especially the Nephilim. They gathered on mountain peaks and mocked him. "Look at this foolish man," they shouted, "building a house for the rain, when it has never even fallen from the sky." But as the years passed and the clouds grew darker than they had ever been before, laughter began to fade. Something changed in the air. The winds carried a scent the giants had never known. Something divine, something final. The prophets whispered of destruction. The stars dimmed, and a low, distant thunder began to speak across the horizon. Then, fear came to the hearts of the Nephilim. They were strong, yes, but even they could feel it, that something vast and unstoppable was moving toward them. They looked at the ark, half finished, and they saw not a boat, but a coffin for their kind. That's when the first vow was made, A great council of the Nephilim gathered beneath the shadow of Mount Hermon, the same place their angelic fathers had sworn their rebellion long ago. And the eldest of the giants and the last king of Bashan rose to speak. His voice rolled like thunder. "Brothers, the Most High has chosen to destroy what we built. He has chosen the worms of earth over the children of heaven. If this ark floats, we die. But if we destroy it, we live." The crowd roared. The mountains quaked beneath their feet. And so the giants swore an oath. They would destroy the ark and kill Noah before the first drop of rain touched the ground. And for the first time since the rebellion in heaven, creation trembled again. Because this wasn't just a battle of flesh and wood. It was a war between heaven's patience and earth's pride. But far above, beyond the veil of clouds, the heavens stirred. One angel stood before the throne, silent, solemn, radiant as fire. He was old, older than the flood, older than the mountains, older than the watchers who had fallen. He had once known them. He had watched them descend and wept as they chained themselves to earth for the love of mortal women. When God looked upon him, there was pain in both their eyes, because this angel's mission would not bring him glory, only sorrow. God spoke, "Go, protect my servant. Let no hand touch the ark. You will not destroy the giants, only delay them. Mercy must come before judgment." The angel bowed his head. No army would follow him, no chariot, no host of light. He was to go alone. But even alone, his descent was like the birth of a storm. The heavens split open. Light poured through the clouds, and the sound of wings like thunder filled the valleys. Noah looked up from his work and fell to his knees, for he saw something that no mortal should see. A being of immense glory, stepping down from heaven, wings blazing with silver fire. But Noah understood, this was not for him, it was for what was coming. And what was coming were giants. They moved through the mist like mountains walking, their eyes glowing like molten gold, their weapons forged from stone and iron. Each step cracked the ground. Their roars sent flocks of birds fleeing from the sky, and behind them the earth quaked. They were not just angry, they were desperate. They had seen visions. They knew the flood was real, and they knew that if Noah's ark floated, their kind would vanish forever. Then suddenly, silence. The giants stopped. The skies cleared for just a moment, and in that silence a single figure stood before them, radiant, still, unflinching. The angel, his wings stretched wide enough to shadow the valley. His eyes glowed not with wrath, but with sadness. He looked upon the Nephilim, the children of his fallen brothers, and whispered almost to himself, "How far you've fallen." O stepped forward, towering above even the trees. His voice thundered, You are one of them, heaven's slave, the kind who left us to die when the watchers fell. Why protect the worms? Why fight your own blood?" The angel's gaze was steady, and with a voice calm as thunder before the storm, he said, "Because mercy still lives, and heaven has not forgotten love." A murmur went through the giants, but Og only growled, "Then you will die with them." He tore a tree from the ground and swung it like a weapon. The earth split where it struck. The angel's wings flared, light exploding from his form. He caught the tree mid-swing, his feet digging into the earth like stone, and the storm began. Lightning crashed, the giants roared, and the first blow of the battle before the rain had been struck. The earth trembled under the weight of corruption. The days of man had turned into an age of ruin, when the sons of God had mingled with the daughters of men, and their children became giants, beings of immense strength and unspeakable violence. They devoured the earth, silenced the cries of the innocent, and ruled by terror. And as Noah built the ark, obeying the command of God, those giants, the Nephilim, grew restless. They could sense that judgment was near. The skies were changing. The wind no longer felt alive. Even the earth seemed to hold its breath. But what most never knew was that heaven sent an angel to guard the ark before the first drop of rain ever touched the ground. A warrior, neither wrathful nor cruel, but burdened with a mission that would tear through the very heart of creation. He was not sent to destroy mankind's enemies. He was sent to protect God's promise, As the last days before the flood approached, the giants gathered across the plains. Vast figures towering over men, their voices shaking valleys. Their hearts were filled with rage, not merely because they feared death, but because they understood something divine was being preserved without them. In the distance, they saw the Ark, a wooden fortress standing like defiance against their power. And so they began to march toward it. It was not a small uprising. It was a storm of living mountains moving as one. The skies darkened with dust. The air burned with tension. The world felt like it was standing at the edge of its own destruction. Then came the angel. Descending through the clouds, he was like light breaking through the end of time. His glory pierced the shadowed plains. And though not a word was spoken, his presence alone was a warning. You will go no further. Heaven had drawn a line upon the earth. The giants stopped. For the first time, they felt something greater than their own strength, a force that did not come from this world. And yet, they were not willing to yield. The ground cracked as they advanced, lifting weapons crafted from the bones of beasts and the stones of mountains. And with every step they took, the angel's light grew brighter, as if creation itself was choosing sides. What followed was not merely a battle of flesh and blood. It was a clash between corruption and holiness, between rebellion and divine order. The heavens darkened as lightning tore across the clouds. Winds screamed through the valleys. Every strike from the giants sent shock waves through the ground, and every burst of light from the angel shattered the shadows around him. Heaven and earth met in collision, not in armies, but in single purpose. The angel stood alone, yet he was not alone. The power of the one who sent him filled the skies. Every movement he made was an echo of divine will. Every surge of light that rippled from him tore through the hearts of the mighty and broke the pride of the fallen. But this was not a story of triumph. It was a story of restraint, of divine control in the face of overwhelming power. Because the angel's mission was not to kill, it was to preserve, to make sure the Ark and the promise within it would not be touched. He held back his strength as much as he unleashed it, and in that balance, the battle became something sacred. Every moment was a test of faith, of mercy, of obedience. The giants fought with all their fury. They tore through the land, but the Ark stood untouched. They roared against heaven, but the floodgates were already being prepared above them. And though their wrath was unmatched, they could not overcome the will of God. When the earth quaked and the mountains split, it was not the angel who struck them down. It was the coming of judgment itself. The storm gathered behind him like a wall of divine fire, swallowing the horizon. Thunder rolled across creation, and the angel lifted his gaze, for his task was complete. The Ark still stood. Noah's family was safe, and heaven's covenant was unbroken. Then came the rain. The first drop fell like a tear upon the dust, and the angel knew it was over. The war had ended not with victory, but with silence. The world's rebellion had reached its final breath. The giants who sought to defy heaven now fled before the flood, their roars fading beneath the sound of falling skies. And the angel, the last light above the dying earth, spread his wings and rose into the storm. He watched the waters consume what man and angel alike had corrupted. He watched the Ark rise, lifted not by the waves, but by grace. That day, heaven didn't just fight for mankind. It wept for the price of saving them. Because even in victory, there are battles that leave the soul trembling. And sometimes the hardest part of obedience is watching what must be lost in order for the promise to survive. The flood had come, and the voice of judgment filled the world through the sound of rushing water. The angel remained above the rising storm, wings stretched wide across the gray expanse. Below him, the Ark moved like a miracle through chaos. It did not drift. It was carried. It did not shake. It was held. And as the waters rose, the angel knew that his purpose had been fulfilled. The promise was safe. But heaven's victories are often heavy with sorrow. He watched as entire valleys disappeared beneath the flood. Mountains that once touched the clouds were swallowed by waves. The cries of creatures, the whispers of men, the echoes of laughter that once filled the earth, all silenced under the roar of the deep. The angel saw what creation looked like when mercy withdrew its hand. It wasn't vengeance that filled the sky. It was mourning. The flood was not an act of hatred. It was an act of cleansing, a reset. Not to destroy life, but to give it a chance to begin again. And yet to watch it unfold was unbearable. Because even in judgment, there were traces of innocence. Faces, dreams, hearts that never had the chance to understand what had gone wrong. The angel could feel it in the storm, the grief of the Creator. It rippled through every drop of rain, every roll of thunder. This was not wrath alone. It was heartbreak expressed in divine form. The flood was heaven's tears made visible. For 40 days and 40 nights, the storm did not stop. The angel remained stationed above the world, a silent guardian over the ark, his radiance faint behind the clouds. He neither slept nor spoke. He simply watched as the oceans rose higher and the horizon disappeared into gray. Watched as the breath of mankind was swept from the earth like dust in the wind. Watched as silence claimed the world. In that silence, something changed within him. He had seen rebellion. He had seen destruction. But this was the cost of mercy. He understood now what obedience truly meant. It was not about victory or power. It was about bearing the weight of what must be done, even when your heart wishes it didn't have to happen. And so he watched the ark, a small wooden vessel carrying everything heaven had chosen to preserve. The hope of the future, the proof that even in judgment, God's purpose never ends in despair. Because though he allowed the flood, he also preserved a door. When the waters finally reached their peak, the angel could no longer see the land. There was only sea and sky, endless, eternal, and still trembling with power. And in that vast emptiness, he felt something profound, peace. Because where there is emptiness, there is space for new beginnings. Heaven was rebuilding the foundation of creation, not with hands, but with hope. Every drop that fell carried the promise of restoration. Every wave that crashed whispered the name of mercy. And slowly, as the days passed, the fury of the storm began to calm. The waters that once devoured began to settle. The thunder softened, the clouds thinned, and light, pure and quiet, began to pierce through the gray. The angel turned his gaze toward the ark once more. It floated in peace now, drifting toward the mountains that would soon rise above the surface again. And above it, the rainbow, the covenant of remembrance, began to form. It was not a symbol for man alone. It was a reminder to heaven as well, that even divine justice must be balanced with compassion. The angel knew his time on earth was coming to an end. His mission had been fulfilled. The ark was safe. Life had been preserved. And yet, as he ascended through the fading storm, his heart carried the echo of what he had witnessed, the cries of the lost, the silence that followed, the price of obedience. He rose higher and higher, through clouds still damp with rain, through light that shimmered like glass. And as he entered the threshold of heaven, he looked back one final time. The world was quiet now, reborn through pain. And somewhere below, within the ark, the breath of mankind continued. The angel realized that this is what salvation truly looks like. Not without sorrow, not without cost, but shaped by both mercy and justice intertwined. And so, heaven closed its gates behind him. The flood receded, and the earth began again. A new covenant had been written, not in ink or stone, but in the very waters that had washed away the old world. A covenant that said, God can end all things, but he always chooses to begin again. When the waters finally rested and the last echo of thunder faded across the horizon, heaven called its warrior home. The angel, weary, radiant, and silent, rose through the veil of mist that still hung over the earth. His wings, once bright with the fire of judgment, now carried the weight of what he had witnessed. Beneath him lay a world reborn, yet scarred, and above him the gates of heaven glowed like the dawn, waiting for their messenger to return. But this was not the same being who had descended. He had left heaven as a soldier, swift, obedient, unshaken. He returned as something else entirely, burdened, thoughtful, changed. Because when an angel looks upon the cost of divine judgment, even holiness trembles. He entered the courts of light, and all was silent. There were no cheers of victory, no songs of triumph, only stillness. the kind of stillness that carries understanding. Because even the hosts of heaven knew the flood was not something to celebrate, it was something to remember. Every angel who stood in that hall had felt it, the grief that rippled through the heavens as the world below drowned. The air itself carried a heaviness that words could never capture. And then there was the silence of God. No thunder, no voice, no radiant decree, just quiet, deep, eternal, sacred. Because even the Almighty pauses after judgment. Even He looks upon what was lost and feels the ache of love that discipline demands. The angel stood before the throne, not to speak, but to be. He had no words to offer. What could one say after watching creation fall beneath the weight of its own corruption? He simply lowered his wings, not out of fear, but out of reverence for the mystery he could not comprehend. Heaven itself seemed to weep. Streams of light fell like rain across the glassy expanse, reflecting the sorrow and beauty of divine justice. For a moment, all of eternity felt human, fragile, emotional, alive with the weight of mercy. And then, something stirred. From the stillness, a light descended, soft, steady, unburning. It did not speak, but it understood. It surrounded the angel, and in that light was the truth. The mission had never been about wrath. It had been about preservation, to protect the seed of hope, to guard the ark, to give mankind another chance, no matter the cost. The angel bowed, not out of exhaustion, but gratitude, because he realized now what so many never do, that the love of God is not fragile or sentimental. It is fierce, it is consuming, and sometimes it wears the face of a storm. But even as peace settled across the heavens, there lingered something else, something unseen, something restless. From the waters of the flood, not all had risen to heaven, not all had perished into nothingness. The giants, the Nephilim, born of rebellion, their bodies drowned, but their spirits remained, half human, half divine, neither belonging to earth nor heaven. Their souls drifted in the shadows, weightless and unseen, like remnants of a war that refused to end. They became whispers in the wind, spirits without rest, and heaven looked upon them with silence. Because even in victory, there are consequences. The angel, though home again, felt that truth burning within him. He had stopped the giants from destroying the ark, but their hatred, their essence, their curse still lingered in creation's unseen corners. It was as if the flood washed away their flesh, but their darkness found a new form, one that would echo through generations. And in that realization, the angel understood that his mission was not truly over. Because evil does not end when it is destroyed. It ends when it is understood and replaced with light. As he stood in the radiant expanse of heaven, he looked down one last time at the quiet world below. He saw the ark resting on Ararat's peak. He saw the first rays of sunlight touching the wet earth. And he saw something rise from that light. Hope, the hope of a new covenant, the promise that no matter how dark creation becomes, God will always leave a way to begin again. And so, the angel turned away, ascending higher into the heart of heaven, where light meets eternity. He carried no weapon now, only memory. The memory of a world once judged, now redeemed. The memory of a battle that cost heaven tears. And in that quiet ascent, one truth echoed through the realms. A truth not shouted, but whispered. Divine mercy often looks like war, but it is always born of love. When the waters receded and the ark came to rest, heaven was silent, but the earth was not. In the shadows of the mountains and the valleys where the flood once raged, something stirred, something ancient, something that refused to die. Because when flesh perishes, spirit remains. And the giants, the Nephilim, were not like men. They were born of heaven's rebellion, the offspring of angels and women, creatures of two worlds but belonging to none. The flood had crushed their bodies. It had erased their names from the earth. But it could not wash away what they were, remnants of divine power twisted by pride. The Bible tells us little about what became of them. Only whispers, faint, hidden lines in ancient texts. The souls of the giants became evil spirits upon the earth. That's from the book of Enoch. an ancient writing that dared to reveal what Scripture only hints at. It says that when the Nephilim died, their spirits were condemned to wander the earth, restless, hungry, and forever cut off from heaven. They became the first demons, the first shadows of rebellion that would haunt humanity until the end of days. And the angel who had fought them knew this. He could feel them, because even in heaven their whispers reached him. He had fought their strength in battle. But now he faced something far worse, their presence in spirit. They drifted like smoke between realms, unseen but near. Their voices lingered over the new earth, murmuring to men in dreams, stirring temptation, feeding fear. And for the first time, the angel realized that victory was not destruction, it was containment. God had not eradicated evil. He had confined it, set its boundaries, given it time, because in that time, mankind would be tested, refined, and ultimately redeemed. But that revelation tore at the angel's heart. He could not understand why God allowed corruption to remain. Hadn't the flood washed away sin? Hadn't heaven purged the earth with justice? Yet now he saw it clearly. Evil is not something that dies in a flood. It is something that lives in choice. The spirits of the Nephilim became the shadows that followed mankind, unseen but always waiting. They were the voice behind jealousy, the whisper behind pride, the shadow behind every false god that would rise in centuries to come. The angel watched from heaven as the first altars were built, not for the Creator, but for idols. He saw kings bow before stone and nations calling upon the names of ancient spirits who had once been giants. He saw men worship what God had drowned, and it broke him. He had fought so hard to protect the ark, to preserve life, to guard the promise, only to see corruption return like smoke after fire. But in his grief, something stirred within him. Not anger, not pride, but understanding. He began to see what only the wise and weary angels understood, that God allows darkness to remain not because he is weak, but because he is patient. Because light must prove itself against shadow, or it will never shine at all. So the angel made a vow, not one written in heaven's scrolls, but in the silence of his heart, that he would watch over mankind, that he would stand unseen, guarding the descendants of those Noah saved, that even when humanity forgot, he would remember. Because if the giants left behind their curse, then heaven would leave behind its guardian. Some say that when men see flashes of light in storms or feel unseen protection in moments of danger, it is him, the angel who once stopped the giants. Others say his presence is what restrains the darkness of the ancient world from fully rising again. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain, his mission never ended. Because the flood was not just about judgment, it was the beginning of a war that never truly stopped. A war not fought with swords or wings, but with influence, between divine patience and demonic persistence. And so the story of the flood did not end with water. It continued in the unseen, in spirits that wandered and angels that watched. And perhaps that's the most haunting truth of all, that even in salvation, there are echoes of rebellion, and even in peace, heaven still stands guard.